Welcome to the Eric Thompson Show. Passionate conservative fighting to preserve our constitutional rights.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
A Marine Corps veteran and family man whose life's creed is faith, family, and country. Join Eric today as he covers current events from a conservative worldview. Now, here's your host, Eric Thompson.
Welcome to the Friday edition of the Eric Thompson Show podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It is November 12th, 2021. If you ever want to get a hold of me, head over to my website. My website is ettalkshow.com, ettalkshow.com. You can get my past podcast, videos, and articles, and other information on me, ettalkshow.com. I'm a political writer during the week, and then I do the podcast in the evenings. I do one for Christians called Christian Talk, and then this one here is more a social, political podcast. And after a week of writing and going through the Kyle Rittenhouse, the close to that trial, and now today the judge had to find out the additional multiple lesser charges are going to throw in at the last second, just trying to make sure the left wants to make sure that Kyle goes to jail for something. If he didn't tie a shoe right or whatever. But while that's going on, we have a lot of COVID news that I'm going to go over, but I'm going to condense it down. We have the January 6th, the committee, the January 6th committee. They bringing charges against Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, and they've already got a grand jury has a warrant out now for Steve Bannon, who was an advisor to Trump, and then they obviously are going after President Trump himself, his family. So while you have all of that going on, then you have over here with Florida and Texas keep fighting back. Texas is doubling down on building their own border security. And Florida, their legislature is going to vote to remove OSHA's oversight of businesses in the state, which means Biden's COVID mandate wouldn't work because OSHA wouldn't have the authority to fine the businesses. When you bring all of this together, this we're going to talk about, the overarching idea is the federal government must be deconstructed. In other words, peeled back, removing cabinet seat after cabinet seat, executive order, just peel it all the way back down to when it was insignificant. Now, the left will obviously not want this to happen and will fight it every step of the way. We do not need a Department of Education. The Department of Education is a tool by the Marxists to advance their doctrine through the public pipeline, public education, and it determines what curriculum is acceptable. It determines how much grant money to give specific states if they're falling in line. Look at what the EPA is doing. Land management, all of this bureaucracy. It needs to go away. Because starting Monday, I'm going to break my podcast into 4 segments. I think education, immigration are the 2 main things. Right? If you're constantly educating Marxists and you're allowing people to pour in the country, and then you're allowing the government to spend endlessly, which is the carrot to get the people to fall in line. And then we have to basically say, you know what? we don't want the Department of Justice to act like tyrants. We don't want the FBI to be like the black shirts or the brown shirts or the SS. So it's going to come down to what happened. What was the main story today? What's the main story on immigration if it's different? What's the main story on education? And how is it manifesting itself in the culture? Where is the biggest government overreach for that day? And as we go through them, I want you to be able to say, okay, I didn't see that, now I see it. I know what he means now by overreach. I know what he means now by exceeding their authority. I know what it means by exceeding state sovereignty. Because the whole goal with this is to make sure we're aware, so then you can educate other people, and then we can get to the polls. What's going on right now, when we get to some of the new nominations that Biden is putting up, they're all radicals. They are all radicals. They're George Soros funded. If you don't know how that works, Soros and these globalists are funding elections, press releases, media, the way the media reports. Because if you throw money at people, they'll kind of fall in line if they have no integrity. And that's why everything seems confusing, because in the Saul Alinsky model and in the communist model, you just have to keep lying and lying and lying until the people believe it. They believe it's true. January 6th was not a riot, but they keep saying it. They keep saying it. They keep saying it. They keep people locked up without due process because the FBI, the CIA, and the Department of Justice are all working. They're all working as one, saying, oh, wow, these guys were domestic terrorists, we think. So then we can override their rights. They don't get their Miranda rights. They don't get an attorney. If they cannot afford one, one will be given to them, paid for by the state. They don't get those rights. Because as I write the articles, and I see people reacting on social media, all that's happening is we're cycling around in this frustration. We need to be connecting, learning, getting built up, and going to work. Just like in the kingdom of God, we're in God's word, we're in prayer, we're in fellowship, trying to make a difference for the kingdom. So let's start with COVID this week. And I want to start with the story. This is becoming emblematic of people in the medical profession that go on social media and they arrogantly mock people. People who don't want the vaccine. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. Because they're arrogant. Here's an example. Christina Layla wrote this on Gateway Pundit. Cardiologist who said won't cry at funeral for selfish unvaccinated people suddenly dies in his sleep 2 weeks after getting the third jab, the booster shot. This is common. There's people dying 2 days, 3 days, a couple of weeks. A 52-year-old prominent New Brunswick cardiologist suddenly died in his sleep just 2 weeks after getting his third jab. Over the summer, Dr. Sohrab Medial attacked selfish people. And here was the tweet, July 2021. Luch Media was his page. The collective argument to protect those who cannot get the vaccine who want protection, immune compromised, the very young, the homeless and the disenfranchised. For those that won't get the shot for selfish reasons, whatever, I won't cry at their funeral. So he got the booster shot on October 24th, and he died unexpectedly on November 8th. According to Canadian media, Dr. Luch Medial's friends, family, and colleagues are in shock over a sudden death. CBC News reports a prominent New Brunswick cardiologist has died, leaving behind a large gap in the system and the community, colleagues say. Dr. Sorab dedicated more than 20 years to the New Brunswick Heart Center and the care of patients suffering from heart disease, said a statement from the staff of the New Brunswick Heart Center. Quote, "It is with profound sadness that we report the sudden and unexpected death of a colleague, friend, father, partner, and inspiring spirit." Luch Medial died Monday in his sleep at his St. John home, said Jean-François Laguerre, the head of cardiac surgery at the New Brunswick Heart Center. He was 52. There's a story on that's out about a bodybuilder, perfect shape, takes his second shot, dead within 48 hours, on and on. But we're not supposed to talk about those people. Even if it's hundreds of thousands of people. Those lives don't matter. The media is not going to talk about this doctor. They would brag about him when he's mocking everybody in his tweets, but they're not going to talk about, oh, he died. So when I see stories like that, I'm thinking, well, I know France and other European countries are putting a hold on some of these vaccines now after people are dying. But Moderna is beginning testing on infants as young as 6 months old now. It was one thing to do over 12. Then they cried and complained, well, even though the 5 to 12-year-olds don't die from it, we got to get them a vaccine. So now almost, I think, 1 million parents have got their little kids poked, even though they had no risk of dying from it. Well, now, the same researchers, even though toddlers don't die from it, they're doing marketing like Kid Cove, the Kid Cove website. Quote, "The primary purpose of the Kid Cove study is to test the safety and effectiveness of the study vaccine called mRNA 1273 that may protect children between the ages of 6 months to under 12 years from getting sick if they come in contact with SARS-CoV-2, which causes COVID-19. So Moderna was actually able to find parents who would bring in their little children to get poked. But Austria, they're a lot worse off. Austria is basically isolating all of the people, the 20 or 30% of the people. They're doing like a national lockdown after these people, treating them as second-class citizens. But to top it off, and then we'll go to our first break, there's a whorehouse, a brothel in Austria that is offering free sex sessions with a prostitute of your choice if you get vaccinated at their clinic. Can it get much more debauched? We're willing for the woman to give up her body sexually if you'll just get vaccinated. There's also a report out of England that in Durham that they're actually teaching a class. They're teaching a class on how to go into the prostitution field, how to be a prostitute. So when I hear them saying, we have the high ground ethically, you should listen to us, you should all get vaccinated, bring in your kids, people are dying, but hey, we're not going to talk about them, don't look behind the curtain. Springing everybody should take the shot because we say so. I don't think so. All right, we get back from the break. We're going to go over White House. You know, they're saying, hey, gasoline is expensive, but that's a good thing, and I'll explain to you why. There's also Florida's really fighting back, and I'll go over that with you too. They're basically going to say, OSHA, you no longer have a say over the businesses here. Ha! It's a good workaround. All right, my two sponsors, MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com promo code is ETTalk. MyPillow.com and Freedom Phone. Freedom Phone, just like your Android phone, except it gives you back your privacy. Promo code is SAVE. Save you $50. FreedomPhone.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
Again, MyPillow.com promo code ETTalk. Save you up to 66%. ETTalk.
Name one time in history where the people who banned books, media, and opinions were the good guys. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I made it in Silicon Valley, and I've accomplished a lot in my life already. But now, I'm leaving big tech to fight for free speech. Because the big tech overlords are violating your privacy, censoring your speech, and I think that's so wrong. That's why I created the Freedom Phone and its uncensorable app store. Everyone is complaining about big tech censorship, but no one is doing anything about it. They say, build your own phone. So I did. Freedom Phone truly is the best phone in the world. It does everything your current phone does, except censor you and spy on you. With the Freedom Phone, your freedom of speech is our #1 priority. That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love has been banned from the mainstream app stores, you can still download it on ours because we don't ban apps, period. And we've developed the first operating system based on your free speech. There's no app tracking, no keyboard tracking, and no location tracking because I believe in your security. How do we ensure you're being protected? Say hello to Trust. Trust is our privacy guard. It's designed to warn you whenever an app or a website is tracking you and gives you the option to stop it. Your data, your rules. That's our motto. The Freedom Phone is comparable to the best smartphones on the market. It has an edge-to-edge screen, a super fast processor, and multiple cameras. And your SIM card transfers into the Freedom Phone seamlessly. Big tech companies hold a monopoly on public communication and the dissemination of information, and they are abusing that power. Nobody elected Mark or Jack to be the arbiters of truth in America, yet they still thought it was okay to ban a sitting president from their platforms. If they censor a president, they will censor anyone. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg censored MLK or Abraham Lincoln. The course of history would have been altered forever. Out of all the constitutional amendments, there's a reason why the Founding Fathers made the right to free speech the very first. I believe you have a voice that deserves to be heard without being censored. Protect yourself from big tech censorship. Let your voice be heard. Live free with the Freedom Phone.
Again, freedomphone.com. Make sure you use the promo code SAVE at checkout. Save $50. Use the promo code SAVE at freedomphone.com. Thank you so much for staying with me. And if you're just joining, make sure you head over to my website, ettalkshow.com, talkshow.com. All right, as we're going out of this first segment of the second one, I did have one more article I wanted to cover here real quick. This is kind of the Frankenstein type of things that's taking place, just like when Fauci was sending money over to the Wuhan lab of virology and telling them, you go ahead and modify viruses from the animals and put some different spike proteins and make it so it can be weaponized to kill humans. Of course, everybody's denying that on the left, but it is in the testimony and in all of the emails. But scientists are attempting to grow COVID vaccine-filled spinach, lettuce, edible plants to replace COVID injections. Isn't that special? And you're like, oh, okay, Eric, yeah, it sounds like a tin hat story here. Well, researchers at the University of California were awarded a $500,000 grant from the National Science Foundation, developing technology that infuses experimental mRNA COVID-19 vaccines into spinach, lettuce, and other edible plants. The team of the technologically experts is currently working on successfully delivering DNA-containing mRNA biotech technology into chloroplast, the part of the plant that instructs its cells' DNA to replicate the vaccine material. That's a mouthful right there. Experimental mRNA vaccines will be edible. Juan Pablo Geraldo, an assistant professor in ICR's Department of Botany and plant scientist who's leading the research, explained in a press release. If you go to news.ucr.edu articles, you'll be able to find it. Grow and eat your own vaccines is the name of the article. He said in it, quote, ideally, a single plant would produce enough mRNA to vaccinate a single person, unquote. He continued, quote, we are testing this approach with spinach and lettuce and have long-term goals of people growing it in their own gardens. Do you think maybe down the road they would say, the government mandated children at schools must eat the mRNA spinach lettuce plate? See, they're putting it in rats. They're putting it into 6 months olds. They're trying to put it into lettuce. What's up with this? These globalists. Control. It's control. Why can't people say no? Think of it this way. If the vaccines supposedly work and there's 100 people in the room, and I don't want it, so I'm the only one out of 100 who does not take the vaccine. That means 99 would be perfectly healthy, and there's nothing that could happen to them. And me, well, I am going to die for sure. But that's not how they're doing this. They're saying, no, 100%. That doesn't make sense logically, does it? Except what we're finding out is the people that are like the doctor that we opened up the podcast with that got fully vaccinated, did the booster, and then he died. They're like, well, yeah, that happens. You know, sometimes you can take the first shot, the second shot, be vaccinated, but then you can still have a outbreak or a breakthrough, I think they call it, where it kind of breaks through the antibody protections and you die anyway. So that even though it hasn't been perfected, even though people are still dying, and even though some people are dying because of the vaccines, they got approval from 5 to 12-year-olds, and now they're testing on 6-month-olds. My wife and I visited Europe. We went to Germany, went to the Dachau concentration camp, went to Nuremberg, went to sites around Germany where you would see gold stars outside of the homes where the Germans would wrongfully take away Jewish people that died in the camps. So somebody later after the war went around to the homes and put stars in front of those people so the Germans would be remembered. So now here we are. Well, we should treat people different. We should make children like in San Francisco have to carry an ID. Over in China, they have the kids that have to have a barcode on their shirts so when they go to school, they can scan them. And if you don't have it, you're the bad person. You shouldn't be able to eat, go to work, do business with us. You should be ostracized. You should be looked down on. You should be mocked. It's just like the climate change thing. We'll cover this on Monday. How do you know climate change is a hoax? Because everyone that just went to the United Nations conference flew there in private jets. They stayed in big hotel rooms with not a lot of people per square foot per energy used. And Biden, Bernie, Barack, and others live on the ocean. Well, I thought the climate change was causing the ocean levels to rise. So if the oceans were really raising up, you wouldn't buy. If you really knew it and you believed it, you sure wouldn't buy a house on the ocean. I live close to Yosemite, about an hour and a half away in California. And years ago, I don't know if it was 10 years ago during Al Gore's or 15, 20 years, but when Al Gore was putting out his Inconvenient Truth movie, they had actually put up a sign way up in the mountains that said, "This won't be here. The waters will be at this level by 2020." They took the sign down last winter because the water levels didn't rise at all. So when they're saying, well, there's a 0.0001 chance of dying, and children basically statistically have a 0% chance, and they keep saying we should now go 5 to 12-year-olds, and now we should go down to 6-month-olds, and everybody should get vaccinated. Yeah, but people are dying from it. Yeah, but that's how it happens. It's just some people have to be sacrificed in the name of science. But see, I can say all this, and you may agree with me, but until we decrease the power and the size and the scope of the federal government, and we put limitations on their emergency powers, because there's governors like Newsom out in California that just said, this emergency power status we're in, I'm going to extend it till March. I'm going to be able to still pass edicts as a governor to override your constitutional rights. But if we decrease the government, we put limits on those type of powers, and we put everything back to the states, things will correct themselves, because some states will say, if you're a legal alien, you're gone. No benefits, no help. There's 2 genders in our state. You can't kill the babies in the womb because you decided to have relations outside of marriage. But with the big, huge, massive federal government, just like with Hitler, just like with Mussolini, just like with Chavez in Venezuela, we know where this goes, except this time it's underneath the auspices of the Great Reset. And it's structured, and keep listening to the politicians. 2030. We're going to get rid of coal because John Kerry said this. John Kerry was he's the climate envoy for Joe Biden. And he was at the COP26 summit in Glasgow, Scotland. He said, quote, by 2030 in the United States, we will not have coal plants, unquote. Be nice to tell the people in West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, Ohio, and I think those are the main 3 coal states. But see, the Agenda 2030 from the United Nations and the Great Reset 2030 both are requiring companies and states to go to zero emissions, and 2030 is a benchmark where they want no gasoline, automobiles, weed whackers, blowers, anything. They want gasoline stopped being used. Everything is electric. Because climate change is a hoax. But they keep telling the lie big enough, hoping that people will just say, well, they say it so much, it must be true. COVID is going to kill everybody. Well, no, actually, statistically, it's not happening, but they keep saying it, and they keep getting parents now with 6-month-olds to come in and to get shots. Now, Florida is fighting back. Texas is fighting back. Oklahoma, Missouri, other states are fighting back, which makes the left furious. There's the job numbers. 4.4 million people quit their jobs last month. Wonder why. The Biden administration is trying to spin it saying, oh, no, it's because there's so many great jobs, they're quitting and going to other ones. Do you think it could be that in September, when the vaccine mandates were coming out and people didn't want to take the shot and they were going to get fired, they just quit? So there's a record number. There's 10.4 million job openings, while 4.4 million people quit while the government was trying to mandate that people would take the shots. See, when you have government overreach, it's hard to even figure out what's normal, what's actually happening, because you have this pressure being applied to people that should not be, and then so they're making decisions that maybe would be outside of their normal way of living, and then you try to look at normal data trends. Statistically, if people quit, does that mean, yes, there's so many jobs, people can quit one job and get a better paying job? But when you have people that I know and you might know that quit because they didn't want to take the vaccine, the jab, now they're not working. It wasn't because they wanted to get a better job. It's because they didn't want to lose their civil liberties at the one job, so then they become unemployed. They lose their benefits. Florida and Texas, especially Florida, we're going to finish with this. They're actually acting like states inside of a constitutional republic underneath the Constitution, with the 10th Amendment giving them basically all the power except for a few that's specifically designated in the Constitution. So what DeSantis did in Florida is he said, look, I am the chief executive officer of a sovereign state, so no school district in the state of Florida can require mask mandates for children in school. Oh, you're trying to kill the kids. No, the kids statistically don't die from this. Yeah, but blah, you're supposed to not be doing this because everybody should be vaccinated. Oh, DeSantis is going to kill everybody. And he said, well, legislature passed it. I signed it. If a school district, if they want to do a mask mandate, because Miami-Dade said we're going to do it anyway, Alachua, Broward County, they're like, well, okay, well then if you do that, then we're going to withhold funding. We're not going to give you the money that you need to operate your school. So, okay, so it's up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just telling you right now. It is un-American. It's unscientific. It's not going to happen. So we know the only way we can get your attention, since you're not listening to our science and to the science that's available, is we're not going to give you funding. Well, according to Breitbart, Miami-Dade is amongst the latest to drop the requirement all of a sudden, allowing parents to fill out a form to simply opt their children out of the mandatory mask if they don't want them to wear one. That's it. This is from MDCPS, Miami-Dade Schools. Important updates for parents and employees. This is on November 9th. MDCPS announces new COVID-19 safety protocols. Opt-out forms can be downloaded at backtoschool.dadeschools.net or obtained at your children's school. That's what happens. That's what happens when a governor says, no, we're going to function as free people, because that's what's lost in all of this. I was talking to my wife today. People, they're forgetting what it's like to be just living. Not this cloud over us like Eeyore all the time. But see, Florida's not done. The legislature is going to decide on withdrawing the state from OSHA's oversight and allowing employees to sue over Biden's vaccine mandates in emergency special session next week. Authoritarian vaccine mandates. Julian Conradson wrote this for Gateway Pundit. He said Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has called state legislatures to come back together next week for a special session to consider several proposals that push back against Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandates for workers and employers. The main piece of the legislation being weighed is a proposal to decide whether the state should withdraw itself from the partisan oversight of Biden's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. The measure was introduced earlier this month and sponsored by Republicans Senator Travis Hudson and Representative Ardian Zika after OSHA had finally issued its emergency temporary standard relating to Biden's vaccine mandate for businesses with 100 employees or more. That's how you do it. Because the White House, Jen Psaki's back from her COVID recovery time saying the rise in gas prices over the long term makes us an even stronger case for doubling down our investment and focus on clean energy options. Okay, so let's bring this all together. COVID's being mandated even though there's no science, and Florida's fighting back and other people, but the government's too big, and that's the problem. John Kerry's telling the world the U.S. won't have coal-burning plants. Sorry, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. But that's just how it is because the Great Reset wants that, and so does the UN Agenda 2030 sustainability goals. And we're here going like, okay, well, man, that's a lot. But here's how we go forward. We need to realize that as long as Biden, the puppet, the Manchurian candidate who doesn't know what's going on, is being manipulated, and he is being told, you're going to put Georgetown law professor Alvaro Bedoya as the FTC commissioner, Federal Trade Commission. He's backed by George Soros, the Russiagate. He's a Russiagate conspiracy theorist. He said that Breitbart News was blocking a counterintelligence operation into Trump's non-existent ties into. So the guy's a nut. He's a far-left wacko. It looks like here he's got money pouring in from the Media Democracy Fund and all kinds of centers and PayPal founder. They're all sending money to try to get this guy in. Or you go over to the good old FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and Biden, whoever is pushing the paper in front of him. Okay, Joe, you're going to put forth Alvaro Bedoya, the Soros-funded pro-illegal immigration professor. You're going to put her up for the FCC. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the other one. in addition to Alvaro Bedoya. That was the one we just spoke about. Soros-linked, pro-legal immigration. Now Biden's also going to put forth Gigi Son to run the FCC. So you got a far leftist who they want to run the FTC, which is basically going to mess with everyone that's dealing with trade. And then we want to have Gigi come in. And Gigi was she's the co-founder and CEO of a leftist advocacy group called Public Knowledge, which recently called on cable and satellite providers to drop conservative One America News Network. Yeah, that's who you want running the FCC, when she is going to be able to say, you're going to lose your license unless you get all the conservatives off your internet service. So what we have to do is we have to keep pressure on our senator and our House members. We need to work locally at the school boards, put pressure on our governors and our mayors, and find out from talking to people if 22 and a 24, if the American people are willing to take the steps to deconstruct the federal government down to being small, for the sake of restructuring our country back to being led by states. That's what it's going to come down to. If we do not decrease the federal government, then we cannot control immigration, we cannot fix education, and we cannot stop the spending, and then it is all she wrote. I already looked into it. States cannot leave the union unless 2/3 agreed, and that's even debatable. So we're going to have to do it from within, folks. So thank you so much for listening. My name's Eric Thompson. This has been the Eric Thompson Show. Get my website, ettalkshow.com. My sponsors, mypillow.com. Write down the promo code ETTalk. One word, ETTalk. 66% off on a lot of the items. mypillow.com or freedomphone.com. Use the promo code SAVE to save $50 at checkout. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to mypillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
And at checkout, make sure you use the promo code ETTalk to save up to 66%. Promo code ETTalk.
Name one time in history where the people who banned books, media, and opinions were the good guys. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I made it in Silicon Valley, and I've accomplished a lot in my life already. But now, I'm leaving big tech to fight for free speech. Because the big tech overlords are violating your privacy, censoring your speech, and I think that's so wrong. That's why I created the Freedom Phone and its uncensorable app store. Everyone is complaining about big tech censorship, but no one is doing anything about it. They say, build your own phone. So I did. Freedom Phone truly is the best phone in the world. It does everything your current phone does, except censor you and spy on you. With the Freedom Phone, your freedom of speech is our #1 priority. That's why we built our own app store that is completely uncensored. If an app you love has been banned from the mainstream app stores, you can still download it on ours because we don't ban apps, period. And we've developed the first operating system based on your free speech. There's no app tracking, no keyboard tracking, and no location tracking because I believe in your security. How do we ensure you're being protected? Say hello to Trust. Trust is our privacy guard. It's designed to warn you whenever an app or a website is tracking you. and gives you the option to stop it. Your data, your rules. That's our motto. The Freedom Phone is comparable to the best smartphones on the market. It has an edge-to-edge screen, a super fast processor, and multiple cameras. And your SIM card transfers into the Freedom Phone seamlessly. Big tech companies hold a monopoly on public communication and the dissemination of information, and they are abusing that power. Nobody elected Mark or Jack to be the arbiters of truth in America, yet they still thought it was okay to ban a sitting president from their platforms. If they censor a president, they will censor anyone. Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg censored MLK or Abraham Lincoln. The course of history would have been altered forever. Out of all the constitutional amendments, there's a reason why the Founding Fathers made the right to free speech the very first. I believe you have a voice that deserves to be heard without being censored. Protect yourself from big tech censorship. Let your voice be heard. Live free with the Freedom Phone.
Use a promo code SAVE at checkout. Save $50. Use a promo code SAVE at freedomphone.com.